Trusted and proven, pushing the limits on every shot. We never fear failure. Join us as we set ourselves against the odds, bringing you cutting-edge voices in every industry. This is the Ironclad Podcast. Jeff, man, we're super excited to kick things off with you. For those of you who don't know Jeff Reid, he's a friend of Ironclad, former Navy SEAL, and now owner of the Frozen Trident. Just an incredible guy. Him and his wife, Jerry, we had a pleasure of hanging with, filming with. What now? 2 months ago now?
Yeah.
Crazy.
And, it's 2 months now.
Yeah, and it was just a blast, man. Recent father and dad to about, 15 dogs?
27 now.
27.
Yeah, we had a litter of puppies since you guys been up here.
Nice. How many do you have now?
What's that?
How many puppies do you have now?
We have 7 puppies total.
Nice.
We have 2 puppies from our main dog Brock, bred to a friend's kennel, a Teo kennel, their main dog, and then we split that litter. It was a litter of 4, so we had 2. We picked 2, and they picked 2, and then we had an accidental breeding where Ozzy, one of our other main leaders, bred our best female. So it was actually a great accidental breeding. We've talked about doing this breeding before, but they got too close in the yard and nature took its course, and now M had a litter of 5 puppies.
Wow.
So 7 puppies now.
Wow, man. That's awesome. So with that, when we were there, you were, you were planning the winter, right? You couldn't run the dogs too hard because it was summertime. What does the season look like for you right now?
Oh man, I guess, I guess we'll just to get there. When we first heard about dog mushing, like everyone thinks of the Iditarod, and that was our number one goal. And we were like, that's what we want to do. But since we've been up here, I've been spending more time with my dogs and getting to know my dogs and getting to know kind of what I like about mushing. It's more of like, I like to get away. And so a lot of the stuff that we want to get into this winter is doing more remote runs out to remote areas, whether that be in like Denali National Park or up in the Arctic. And so we're going to spend more time traveling to these remote places. Maybe I'm thinking about opening it, like starting a YouTube channel, filming a lot of it, trying to get back to maybe some of the, like real remote lakes and ponds and doing some like lake monsters, kind of like river monsters, and fish to these areas that have never been fished before. The cool thing about getting out there and stuff with the dogs in these remote areas and maybe off like the packed trails is it forces you to be meticulous when it comes to like mission planning, as far as your dog care, your vet care and all that stuff. Because if something would go wrong, if your gear would break or a line would break or your dogs would run off or something would happen, no one's coming out. You're not around anyone to come to get help. So you have to be really meticulous, and that's kind of goes back to the whole, I guess, life in the SEAL teams and kind of self-reliance, and not self-reliance, but relying on your team, your pack, and your platoon, and kind of getting out there into some not dangerous, but a little bit more risky areas and stuff. I mean, I just like to do that stuff. Yeah,
and you've had some close calls you told us about. You went in the icy water once, right?
Yeah, and I know that's one thing for me to do this, because this is going on my 3rd winter up here, and I've never lived in Alaska before moving up here. So I don't know a whole lot about river miles and like traveling river and reading ice. So this winter will be a huge learning curve for me, and so I'll be out there trying to learn a little bit. I'll be picking the minds of great dog mushers like Matt Hall, who won the Yukon Quest. He lives down the trail from me. He grew up in Eagle, Alaska, which is a remote like trapping town. And he grew up on the trap line, traveling the river mile. So I'm going to try to pick his brain as much as possible, but have him try to teach me the right way to read the river ice so I don't end up going through.
Yeah, man, you got a lot of frontiersman blood going through you now, too. I mean, even when we were out there, you were canoeing, you're out there exploring, climbing. There's no shortage of lessons to learn out there for you, I'm sure.
Yeah, yep. And the cool thing about it is, I mean, we love this lifestyle, the Alaska lifestyle and the dog mushing lifestyle. And also one thing we're going to do this winter is open up a mushing school. So we have a small little dry cabin we fixed up and it has its own little dog yard. And we're going to let people come out here and stay for like 3 days, have their own dog team, learn everything from like how to run their own dog team, how to do their dog care, how to cook up the dog food. And the cool thing about that is we'll be out on the same trails that I run, doing some. It won't be. It's not easy because like we'll do some running on the Yukon Quest Trail. And the cool thing is, it teaches you a lot about yourself when you're out there with the dogs. You know, you'll have to incorporate a bunch of leadership skills because you're essentially the coach of that team and the running your team. So you get in some hairy situations, you got to keep your stuff together. The dogs have to respect you, but not like fear you at the same time. There's a fine line between that, and it helps. I think that there's a lot that people could get away from coming up to school like that, and so we'll start doing that this winter too. And information will be on our website, frozentrident.com. So definitely check that more out on that there.
That's cool, man. We were talking to Danny, our senior editor. He didn't go out with us, but he edited the whole piece. You know, we worked together towards the end, but during this whole thing, he's watching you and Jerry. He's like, man, I got to get out there. I got to go. I said, dude, he's got an Airbnb there. You got to go. So he might actually sign up to get out there with you.
Yeah, heck yeah. Send him out here.
Yeah, man. Toughen him up.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah, man. So do you have enough dogs to do both of those? If you can go out, if someone goes out there, what are they doing? I mean, are they starting on the sled with you? Are they running their own dogs? How does that work?
Yeah. So what we will probably do, so when the first evening they get here, we'll go out. We'll go out with just one team. They'll ride in the sled. And I'll give them a quick fam on how everything dog mushing. I'll teach them how the sled works, how the lines work, how to set up the line, how to harness a dog, how to booty a dog, like all the basic dog care. We'll do some like classes first, and then we'll go actually harness and booty and hook up a sled and hook up the lines and hook the dogs up to the lines. And we'll go out for a run. I'll start off on the sled. They'll be in the bag, and I'll give them kind of like a down and dirty on how to mush. And then it'll just be a short little, maybe 10-mile run. And halfway through, I'll get out, we'll stop, and they'll get out of the bag, and I'll get in the bag, and then they'll take over on the runners. And that way I can kind of, if anything happens, I'm right there with the team, and we only have a small team to take care of. That next, when we get back, we'll set up their team in their dog yard and set up their sled, and then we'll plan out a run for that next day, and we'll probably go out all day and into the night, maybe do an overnighter. And that way you get a real good fam on how it is to run a dog on a nice long run, maybe do an overnighter. We'll camp out, or we'll go to a remote cabin somewhere, and then cook over a fire or cook over on top of a wood stove, make a good meal, and then feed the dogs, do our dog care. The next morning, get up, do some more dog care, feed the dogs, feed ourselves, and then we'll harness and take off down the trail, and we'll put us back in here that evening, and we'll have an Alaskan meal, whether it be salmon or some moose, and cook a nice Alaskan meal, and then that would be kind of the mushing experience there.
Dude, that's crazy. Have you already got signups for that, or what's...
No, we haven't. Like, I think we just launched our website this morning, so it's a brand new thing, and we're just now launched it, so I haven't had anyone sign up yet. But
are you getting like future mushers, or are you just getting people that are ready to go out and do an adventure?
Anybody who wants to go out and just do an adventure, whether it's someone who wants to see what it takes to hang out at 40 below or 20 below and spend a night out there in it, or if someone's looking to better themselves in the leadership skills and want to see what it takes to keep a team of dogs who have so much energy, if not contained, it can be chaotic, and harness that and use that power to travel distances in some sketchy areas. That's a good way to build leadership skills, or just become a better woodsman, or practice your bushcraft out in the wilderness.
Yeah, man. I can't imagine what that would do for your confidence level when you come back into town too. You're ready to go.
Yeah. That's
awesome. That's cool, man. Now that you're shifting the model a little bit from being, you had big goals on doing different races. You told me that you told us when we were out to dinner one time why you were kind of shifting that a little bit, just following getting that loyalty for those dogs and kind of attaching a why, right, to these things. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, and I guess it goes maybe more towards learning more about my dogs. And right now, our pack is kind of mismatched. Like we have a lot of older dogs and a lot of younger dogs. And to be honest, I don't know if they're my dogs right now are ready for a 1,000-mile race. So it's kind of I'm reading them a little bit and taking a step back, and I'm taking a step back. I like that why, figuring out what works. Why am I out there mushing? It's not necessarily on the competitive level. It's more because I like being out there with the dogs. I like that experience and that bond, because I mean, you get that with the racing and the training for the racing too. And I do enjoy the racing, and we're still planning on doing a few maybe mid-distance races this year, but I'd like to focus more on just getting away from all that. And if I find a cool spot on the trail where I'm like, dude, I want to go explore this place a little bit further, because I have ADD. When I'm out on the trail and I see like a valley that looks awesome, like, whoa, I'm going to go down there. And I'm like, oh, wait, I'm in the middle of a race. And you can keep going. So, and that's part of it. But the why would be, man, the thing I like most about dog mushing is being out there in these wild places with the dogs and just spending time with them. And it's just it just makes you happy. Being around that positive energy.
Yeah.
It's a great experience.
That's cool, man. And when we went out there, it was nothing like it. Whether you're a dog person or whether you're not, even it's something magical about being out there. It's the true wild. It's refreshing, even when it's hard. We climbed up that mountain with you. It was probably just a tourist trail. But when we were going out there, it was like we had all our gear. We're going up. Your wife, Jerry, is fully pregnant, and she's making us look like wimps, dude. You guys are just going. I remember looking around like, is anyone else going to slow down? No one else is slowing down. All right, I'll just keep going. But
I think everyone was thinking that same thing. That's why no one slowed down.
Dude, she's hardcore, man.
She just made that hike the other day carrying Atlas in a baby carrier. We just went up there, same hike.
Dude, yeah. She kept us all going, but there's something about being out there where you're pushing yourself constantly. It's constantly sharpening you.
Yeah. I mean, you can't. I mean, you can, but there could be serious repercussions for it. But if you're on your phone or you're not actually focused on what's going on, there's some you could pay for it seriously. Whether it's in grizzly country and you're not paying attention to what you're wearing when you're cooking, where you're cooking, what the wind's going, how you're packing your bag, or if it could be something like running the dogs on a trail by yourself when nobody else is back here. Did you hook up? Do you have 2 carabiners? Are your lines doubled up? Like, are you going through all the precautions in case the worst case scenario plays out? It makes you like a sharper person, whether that be mentally, and then like the whole physical thing. When you're out there at 40 below, like you can't be in bad shape to be out there and that to withstand that. And every winter I go into the winter, and I by the end of it, I lost 15 pounds from and it's not necessarily working out super hard or changing my diet. It's just being out in the cold for that long.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, it's not easy it's a full body workout holding on to that sucker. I was seeing that sled is not like this luxury you're kicking back like Santa Claus.
No. And then the one thing you don't realize is like, when you're running long distances, you're trying to help out the dogs as much as possible. It's not like you're a lazy musher standing on there. It's like what you said, like Santa Claus on his sled. You're either kicking, you got a ski pole, you're ski pulling, and then when you come up the hills, you're off the sled running behind it, pushing the sled up. You're not just on a leisurely stroll on a Sunday drive. It's a put out evolution sometimes.
Yeah, and we talked about this a little bit, and people see this when your film launches with Eagle, but you came out of a platoon, so you have a unique insight on this, right? Where you guys are all kind of pushing each other to constantly elevate one another. You're kind of taking that mentality. Have you ever been in a spot with them where you're like, damn, I need to step it up? Or has it been something where you've just taken that mentality and it just shifted right in?
Oh, I'm always the one where I was like, damn it, I need to step it up. I'm always with the dogs, I'm always the weakest link. Doesn't matter how good a shape I'm ever in. the musher is always going to be the weakest link in a dog team. One time particular was during the Copper Basin 300 last year. It's a 300-mile race, and we were at the last checkpoint, and the last run was maybe 70 miles, I believe. And we're about 25 miles into it, or 30 miles into it, so we had maybe about 45 miles left. And we're climbing up mountains, and I could tell the dogs are like, damn it, we have another mountain. You can just pick up their body language whenever you spend as much time as I have with the dog. And it's funny because like I remember being in a situation like that in a platoon where we were doing high elevation training, and we were hitting like false peaks, and we came up to a peak, and we realized it wasn't the summit. We had another one up there, and we climbed that one, and it wasn't the summit. There was another one behind that one, and I could tell everyone was getting like pissy, and so I just started busting out in singing Miley Cyrus's To Climb. It's always gonna be another mountain, and everyone just started. Next thing you know, there's a platoon of SEALs singing Miley Cyrus on top of the mountain. And so it's just little things like you learn from that. Like when things get shitty, sometimes you just got to laugh at it. And so that's what I kind of tell the dogs jokes, and it does, or I just talk to them. And sometimes that lifts or gets them out of it funk. But in a real, like that situation, I could tell that they were grinding. And I was like, okay, like, here's the deal. We're not going to stop. If I stop, you guys can stop. And we were 45 miles away from the finish line. And I was like, I'm going to ski pull the rest of the way. So I'm sitting there ski pulling for the next sit. And I remember hitting the point, like we got like 10 miles into it. And I was like, damn it, maybe I shouldn't have promised this. And it got to the point to where I had gloves on because it was about 10 below. And I couldn't grip the ski pole anymore because my hands were tired. So I had to take my glove off. And I was like, well, it's like, I'll freeze my fingers. I told you guys I wasn't going to stop, and we're not finishing this race. We're going to finish. So I ended up coming into the finish line, no glove on, ski pulling with the dogs, and we both looked like we were exhausted. But it's cool because that's what it takes for your dogs to respect you, or at least my dogs. I mean, every kennel is going to be different, but the way my dogs are, like, and if I stopped, they would have stopped. They knew I was working with them.
It's crazy that they can get that kind of read,
Yeah. Yeah. And another thing that's crazy is you'll see bonds in it with each dog and dog. So during a race, dogs that are paired up will oftentimes like become buddies, and you'll see it kind of like, for instance, I had a dog Dredge and a dog Mac. I still have Mac. Dredge is actually retired now and living with Jerry's mom, but Dredge and Mac at first, they got along with each other, but they weren't like buddy. And once I got the race team dialed in and I knew which dogs were going to be on my main race team and which dogs paired up good, I started running Mac and Dredge side by side. By the end of the season, I ran a 100-mile race in March, and by the end of that, at the checkpoints of those races, those two were like cuddled up to each other, and whenever one would get up, the other one, they would sniff each other to make sure they were all right. Like, you pick up on little things like that. They became buddies, and now that Mac or Dredge is in here, I got to try to find a new partner for Mac. But Mac's on the edge of retirement too, so he's more of a couch dog than anything.
Yeah. So once they retire, you're pulling them in the house.
Yeah. Yep.
How many retired ones?
And all of our dogs spend enough time in the house that they're all potty trained. They very rarely does a dog have an accident in the house. And now that Atlas is here, we aren't bringing 10 dogs in every night.
Yeah.
Because slowly still trying to introduce them until we feel comfortable with them. And so we're only bringing like 3 dogs in every night.
Yeah. But, how is that, by the way? How have they reacted to Atlas?
Oh, they're awesome with Atlas. They're so curious, but they're gentle at the same time. And they're not allowed to get too close because Eleanor, our pet dog, like backs them all in the corner.
Really?
She's like Eleanor's little protector. It's hilarious.
That's awesome, man. What was the process when we first had our kid? We brought like the blanket in or something, let the dog sniff it. Then I did like an intro just to kind of let them know who was boss. How did you do it? Was it just to Eleanor first, or how did you introduce Atlas to the pack?
Yeah, so the whole situation was a little different because I had the dogs. I had to still come back and feed and take care of the dogs every day. So Jerry ended up having Atlas And then that same day, later on that day, so yeah, and that later on that day, I had to come back and feed the dogs. So when I came back to feed the dogs, I brought his one of his swaddles or blanket that he was in, and brought Eleanor inside, laid it down, and Eleanor like sniffed it and like ended up just laying down right on top of it and like never got up. Yeah, so it was like right away I could tell Eleanor was gonna be obsessed with this little guy. And but that was really the only dog I did that with. I didn't bring any of the other dogs in because I wanted to do it more one-on-one and slowly. But when we brought Eleanor in, finally, when we brought Atlas home, Eleanor went into every single room Atlas was in, no matter when. So if we were waking up in the middle of the night to go change a diaper, we went in the nursery, Eleanor followed Atlas. And then she did that for, I don't know, he's over 2 months now. At least for the first month and a half, she went everywhere to every room where he went.
Dude, that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
And Atlas is a special kid, man. Can you talk a little bit about that, or is it? I mean, you guys.
Yeah. So, a lot of people know that have followed hashtag Team Atlas know that he was sick. So when Atlas was 3 weeks old, we noticed that he was kind of like more fussy than normal because he was never a real fussy baby. And so we checked his temperature, and he had a low-grade fever, not like real mild. So we kept an eye on it. And 30 minutes later, we checked it again, and it went up pretty significant. And Jerry, being a physician assistant, kind of knows more about like illnesses that infants can have. And she was worried almost immediately because I guess it's kind of scary when a kid has a fever with no symptoms. Like if he had a cough, it'd be one thing, but he was just kind of fussy. So we went right to the ER where actually Jerry works, and they did a full workup on him and found meningitis and an infection in his bloodstream. Immediately got on antibiotics. His fever continued to climb, so they started Tylenol. 48 hours later, he was still having high fevers despite maxed out on Tylenol. And so they decided to medevac him. And when they medevaced him, only one parent could go with him. So I was like, Jerry, go ahead, you go with him. She was the better person anyway because she's a physician assistant and knows kind of more about what's going on. So she was going to go with him. I was going to go back to the kennel, take care of the dogs that night and then that next morning, and I was going to drive to Anchorage, which is about 8 hours. Got back here, took care of the dogs. Jerry called me when she got back and said that she noticed that on the flight that he was having some abnormal movements. His wrist was like movement or twitching, and his face was twitching. So she filmed it to show the doctor, and then when she showed the doctor down there, the doc said that was more likely seizure activities. So that night, I just told her to keep me posted if anything happens, and didn't hear from her really that night until that next morning. She said that I should just get a flight and not wait to drive down, pretty much get down there as soon as possible. Because that morning, the doctor told Jerry, because he now is having seizures and he has meningitis, he's having seizures, and he still has a fever that's not I don't know, not fixing itself. He still is climbing, that he was going to have to beat the odds if he wanted to survive. And that freaked me and Jerry out.
Yeah, man. I can't imagine.
Yeah. So, first night now Atlas is in the PICU. The first night they took a CT scan of his brain to try to determine what was causing the seizures, and they didn't really get back anything conclusive, so they needed to do an MRI. But he wasn't stable. Then he couldn't be having seizures to do the MRI. And then that's whenever, because the doctor said that because he has a bloodstream infection and he's having seizures, despite being on 3 anti-seizure medications, he was still seizing up quite frequently, that he was going to have to overcome the odds. So I arrive finally and the seizures are continuing, except now when he was having seizures, he was apneic. He wasn't breathing. And they had to use the CPAP a lot to keep oxygen flowing through him. And this continued on to the next day. And I guess by this point, he was completely on IV nutrients. He wasn't eating, and he was on IV nutrients. And then seized up the whole day, and his fevers actually increased up to like 103. And that night I remember just sitting there watching him, and he had just watching him. There's nothing you could do. He's having seizures. And it was one of the first times where I was in a situation where I was completely helpless. There was nothing I could do. And that was the hardest part, is seeing him seizing up like that. And it's like, what do you do? You can't do anything. Yeah. That's what sucked. And I started kind of going in a dark place there for a while. It kind of had thoughts running in my head, this is probably retribution for all the terrible things I've done in my life. And I was just running situations over and over and over in my head, not good stuff. And I wasn't in a good place. And I had one of the most honest conversations I've ever had with God. And it wasn't what you would think about in church. I had a few swear words in there, but it was actually a conversation I would have with a friend. And because it wasn't good. And I remember specifically saying, God, I remember reading somewhere that all you need is faith of a mustard seed. And I don't got much more than that, if even that. And this is your chance to take someone who's not 100% sure about religion, and by then we put it all on Facebook or Instagram, which that in itself shows how desperate we really were, because me and Jerry, before this happened, talked about not exposing Atlas at all to Instagram to keep him away from it. But when the medicine and the doctors and nothing was working, we were like, well, the only thing that can help now is prayers. And so after that, and it's amazing, because it shows how great of a family and friend network me and Jerry have. Because when we were at our lowest point, when we were thinking that we weren't coming home with our son anymore, my sister April had started a prayer service in our hometown. And Sean Ryan had set up a video on YouTube for us to explain what was going on. Clint at Gruntworks, he had pretty much Gruntworks at our disposal, and made T-shirts and got our word out that way. And we were overwhelmed with prayers and good vibes. The one thing that can be taken away from all this, is as far as a positive, is that I had a family in Turkey send me a prayer service for Atlas in Arabic, where they were showing videos of Atlas. I had Jewish families, Muslim families, Christian families. I had Republicans, Democrats, whites, blacks, people from all races, religions, colors, and creeds, all praying, all saying good vibes. And it was amazing to see how much good is still in this world. And so it's really, it was awesome to see that, and just to see the world kind of all come together like that. It was amazing. So, but all that is, I have to say thanks to Sean, Clint, and April for helping me out with that. That was awesome. So after that all happened is when he finally started making a turn for the better. His seizures subsided. His fever broke, and I think it was only 2 days later we were out of the PICU. And then, he was on complete. He was, and then they got it. So yeah, then once everything broke, his seizures stopped. They were able to finally get him stabilized to the point to get an MRI. The MRI did show that he had a pretty good sized stroke on the back right side of his brain. That is not terrible news, but not great news, because the good thing is the location is not going to affect behavior, personality, or anything. It's more of fine motor skills and speech and stuff like that. So Atlas may end up he still has a long road to recovery. He's going to need therapies. We'll be going back and forth to see a neurologist in Anchorage, which we'll have to fly to. So he's got a long road to recovery ahead. And but despite everything that happened, man, there's so many gold linings in that. So it's definitely, man, it sets up your perspective a little bit differently whenever something like that happened. And yeah, it was a terrible thing, and it could set up some disabilities for Atlas, but through it all, man, it was there's a lot of blessings that followed that. So yeah. We're super thankful for everyone that helped and prayed and donated and everything. And we hope that there's a way that we'll pay it forward.
Well, man, I got to tell you, we were heartbroken over here when we first heard and first saw things, and from what you saw and what you guys had interactions with, is probably tenfold behind the scenes about people praying for you and thinking about you guys and paying it forward. You do that by living. You and Jerry both do that by living the way you live and living by example and being strong like you were. I mean, it's hard for me to talk about just being a dad, but man, it was a powerful, powerful thing to watch you guys fight through that, and you changed a lot of lives, I think, just by living by example.
Yeah, it's it definitely, whenever you going from a time where you are like, there was a time I thought during this whole thing, I thought Atlas isn't going to make it. I remember I had a conversation with a chaplain. I was like, seeing everything you see in the seeing everything you see in the PICU, how do you even still have faith in God? And his answer was, I loved it because it was real, and very rarely, and that's maybe why I struggle with some of the religion, is he gave me a real answer. He's like, I don't know, and I don't have any answers for all the bad stuff that happens. He's like, it's hard a lot of times. And I was like, yeah, you know what? It's like, I appreciate you being honest with me. That's a real answer. Because like I'm a Christian. I believe that Jesus answered our God answered our prayers. Jesus answered our prayers. But one thing that I don't know is, like, I'm not sure. Like, I can't say for sure I know 100% what happens when you die, and nobody does. There's not a pastor out there. But when you experience something as real and as raw as what we did, it's almost supernatural. And we had friends visit us. We had doctors come in and visit us, and they all like, wow, there's something weird going on. It's like, it feels there's some powerful stuff going on in this room, and I went from feeling the lowest I've ever felt in my life to like, oh, we're good, like, we got this. It's I can't explain it. I can't say I know anything 100% for sure, but what I believe that's what happened with Atlas is God stepped in. And I had a conversation like, did you quit talking to people? Are you even in control of this machine here? Are you just letting it ride and you only step in whenever you feel like it? I mean, it was a real conversation like I had with God, was about how we're talking right now.
Yeah.
And it was, man, it was great. It was life-changing, you know?
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And we're just so happy that he's, when you texted me that night and said that you guys are on the up and up and going to be getting out soon, man, like I said, you can't imagine how many people were there with you. You know, it just as from parents.
You could feel it. You could honestly feel it, man. It was unlike anything I've ever experienced in my life.
Yeah.
It was amazing. It was overwhelming. Me and Jerry were actually just talking about it this morning, actually, and every time we talk about it, we like tear up because of how powerful it was in there. And there's like, we can't thank people enough. It's truly amazing. It's pretty awesome.
Well, I know that everyone was impacted by him and his recovery, and you guys just as much as you were by everybody. So that you know, the amount of impact that little guy's had on the world in his little short life so far is crazy, and what's to come is going to be even more excited. And I know that the way that you guys your worldview and the way you plan on raising him and exposing him to the world and the mindset that you share. Man, between the two of you raising him, he's going to be a go-getter.
Yeah, we're definitely looking forward to seeing him grow. And like with his disability stuff, he may make a full recovery. We don't know. And he right now he's doing everything we think a little 2-month-old baby should do. It will just be a waiting game. We got to be patient and see where he's at when he hits his milestones. But we can't wait to. We were just talking about building him a little kid sled for whenever he can first start walking and get him on like a 1 or 2 dog little sled team. And yeah, it's gonna be great.
Dude, it's gonna be a blast. I mean, that's the kid dream growing up over there.
Yeah, heck yeah.
Yeah, man. I'm just, man, even just talking to you, the impact, those experiences, those supernatural experiences, sometimes the most adversity that you see will change your life for good. And I'm still thinking about it. Just us talking about this, it really, it's powerful, man.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. And two, like you said, perspective, man. Family is everything. It was pretty awesome. My dad dropped everything he was doing and flew up here, and we actually passed each other in the sky. I was heading to Anchorage, and he was heading to Fairbanks.
Yeah.
And he kind of took over the kennel chores while I was in Anchorage, and we had some great neighbors that checked in on him and helped him out whenever he needed. And so awesome friend Ryan from Rhino Kennel and Will from Ateo Kennel and Allie from SP Kennel. They all showed up and helped out when we needed, and super appreciative of that. And my dad, like he pretty much held the fort down while we were gone.
Dude, we were watching him on Instagram.
Gary's mom came up, and yeah, they were up in Anchorage with us, and it was man, family is everything.
Sometimes those things they remind you of how powerful that is, and the fact that you have a platform you have, I think it re-sparked that in a lot of people.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's awesome, and like that's what we said. I used to say Instagram can be used for a lot of bad things, but this just shows that there's a lot of good, and there's a lot of good. It can be used for a lot of good, and it showed a lot of love, and that's I think more what the world needs to see is more stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, man. And, dude, watching your dad, he was doing stories at the kennel. Yeah, he was personality, man. He was Mr. Personality on there.
It.
My wife's like, hey, look at that. It was fun. It was fun to follow and just to see how much joy you guys could have in that adversity was inspiring to so many.
Yeah.
So what's next, man? How is Jerry been staying home with him while you're getting the dogs out? How's that juggle been?
Yeah. So Jerry's been it's a work in progress now, trying to figure out how to balance the dogs and the baby, and we're still not really 100% sure on that, but we're gonna figure it out. What we're doing now is kind of we've had so many people come to visit that we can be like, hey, you watch Atlas, and me and Jerry went out and usually take care of dogs. Or right now, my youngest sister Emily and her boyfriend are up here, so they've been helping take care of the dogs and Atlas. And next week we have one of Jerry's and my friends from upstate New York are coming up, and then after that my older sister's coming up. So we got just shows you family, man. It's awesome to coming up to help out, and then by then we'll be in a good routine and everything. But yeah, we're figuring out. Usually what happens is in the morning the dogs need fed, and we just got 400 fresh salmon, so I have to get up usually about at 2 hours before I need to feed and get it all cooked up. And so while I'm doing that, Jerry's feeding, hanging out with Atlas, and then I'll go feed the dogs, and I'll take over Atlas duties for about 2 hours, and then I'll go run dogs, and then I'll get back and I'll get the salmon going again for the evening feed. So we're still trying to figure out how the balance is going to work. And what I might end up doing is running like maybe when Jerry's off, and then giving the dogs a big period of time off, and then kind of bouncing back and forth. But we'll see.
That's cool.
We'll see what we got going on. Yeah.
Always something new, adventure. Are you guys staying there for Christmas?
Yeah. What's that?
You staying there for Christmas?
Staying here for Christmas, but we're going back to Pennsylvania, I think, for New Year's.
Cool. Very cool.
Yep.
We're going to have to get out there again, man. I want to get out there during the season. When we were out there last time, it was still warm. 24 hours of light when we were there. Is it dark all the time right now?
No, but it's starting to get dark quick. I don't know if we're at the 7 minute. It'll eventually get to the point where we're losing 7 minutes of daylight each day. Right now, I think it's getting dark around 8 o'clock, and then by the winter solstice, we have 3 hours and 45 minutes of daylight.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's getting
But
there.
it's kind of nice. It's kind of nice because it's a lot higher chance of seeing the auroras, the northern lights come out, and that makes it awesome.
Nice.
Makes it worthwhile.
Nice. And you already got open spots over there for people to come down and do their tourist thing
Yep.
to stay with you?
Yep.
Cool. I no joke. Our guy Danny, who you haven't met, he probably knows you because he's watched so much content with you editing this piece. He's probably really going to go this year. So you probably got a guy from Ironclad coming out there.
Heck yeah. Yeah, we got some cool trips planned too. Later on in the season, I'd like to go out. I'm going to take the dogs up to up in the Arctic and the Brooks Range and maybe a little bit past in the North Slope, and go out there and do a lot of caribou hunting this year with the dogs, and we're just going to go out and have fun and do what we want to do, and we feel like running, we'll run, and we feel like camping, we'll camp. So
that's great, man. Those I saw that photo with all the salmon. Did you catch them or did you go buy them? How did that work?
No, I bought them off a guy.
Okay, cool.
So a guy has either a fish wheel or a drift net, and he catches them and sells them to dog mushers.
Nice. And then, so this will be your first hunt. The caribou will be the first hunt for the year.
Yeah, because I was supposed to do a moose hunt, but then Atlas got sick, so I had to cancel it. So we didn't get any moose this year, so we'll stock our fridge. Once the rivers start freezing up and we get a little bit more snow, I'll head up north and get into some caribou, hopefully.
Nice, man. Well, hey, man, it's been so fun catching up with you. I'm so fired up about launching this piece, this Eagle film that we did with you. You know,
too,
just
man.
like your story that people followed, you and Atlas and Jerry. You know, seeing the mindset that you and Jerry have as a couple and everything that you stand for in this film, I think your platform is impact, man, and in you pursuing your passions and you pursuing adventure, and Jerry doing the same, and both of you being so resilient in the face of adversity. I think it's really going to make an impact on the planet.
I appreciate it, man. I'm super pumped for it. You guys, that's one thing that was cool is with you guys coming up here is seeing what it takes to put a production like that together. Holy crap. I'll never watch another movie or show the same after seeing that. It's freaking awesome.
Yeah, man. And we'll launch the Into the Fray, the behind the scenes stuff that Austin was filming when we were out there, and you'll see that because we had to go back and to the Airbnb and build out cameras and dump content and charge things. Those days don't end, especially when it's freaking sunny and you're like, it's 4 a.m. or 3 a.m. or what time is it? It'll drive you insane.
Yeah.
I mean,
and then if you come up in the winter, it's a whole new set of challenges as far as like freezing your cameras and batteries, and then it's filming in the dark a lot of times.
We'll have to do an episode 2 out there with you.
Heck yeah.
So
anytime you guys want to come back, you let me know.
We will, man. We're gonna do it. Once this one launches, maybe we can get Eagle to get us out there and do an episode 2.
Heck yeah.
If not, we'll just come out there for fun. Where can people find you? What do you want people to look out for?
You can definitely check us out on Instagram at Frozen Trident, and then our website, we just relaunched it this morning. It is frozentrident.com.
Awesome.
You can definitely find out more as far as the Mushing School and different tours and stuff we have going on that website. And definitely it has a page about the dogs, and you can actually see and meet all the dogs. And definitely check that out.
Awesome, man. Well, Jeff, man, we wish you nothing but the best for you, Atlas, and Jerry. We're so excited for what's to come, and it's been a blast. Everybody needs to check you out on Instagram and continue the fight, man.
Yeah, thank you so much, man. I appreciate all you've done for us. I really appreciate it. And I also got to say thanks to Jerry, because she's such a huge help around here. And honestly, as much recognition as I get for the kennel, she deserves every bit as what I get. So she's just as big of a player here as I am.
And everybody listening, he's telling the truth. Jerry's awesome, hardcore, man. Yeah. She was literally 9 months pregnant, doing all the work with you, climbing the mountain, doing everything, working. Jerry is a go-getter and a hard charger, and you guys collectively. I was telling my wife when I got back, I said, "Man, we got to go harder." You know, you guys made me look. Made us look like we weren't doing much. It was cool to watch, man. Watch a couple that have been together so long and can continue to just face new challenges. It's been cool.
Heck yeah, man. Jerry's amazing. Heck yeah.
Yeah. Well, cool, man. Well, check Jeff out. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this. Follow and comment, and it's been fun, man. Till next time.
Yeah, brother. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man.